Stinger was an unexpected surprise from Kia. Kia's foundations have been built on small, relatively normal, affordable cars. So when they rocked up with a 3.5 litre V6 with 365 brake horsepower and a rear-wheel drive saloon at that, I mean, I didn't know what to do with myself, to be honest. And then I drove it, and it wasn't perfect by any means, but I just couldn't believe it was a Kia. It was a Kia, something with a Kia badge on the steering wheel that could oversteer. That's surprising. But now there's another Stinger. I've driven the V6, I've driven the turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol, and now I'm driving this, the Stinger diesel. Now, before I do anything else, make sure you subscribe. That is very, very important. Click the little bell icon next to my channel name, because then you'll get a notification when we upload a new video. And also make sure you comment, make sure you like this video, and make sure you visit newmotoring.com. To look at, this looks like every other Kia Stinger. It's got slightly different wheels, it's got smaller brakes, and it's got fewer exhaust pipes, but for the most part it looks exactly the same, which is no bad thing, because I think the Kia Stinger is such a good looking car. And inside it's the same story, it's identical. And again, that is a really good thing too, because the Stinger's interior is the best interior Kia has ever done. It's just finished to a really good standard. And in this car, you know, I've got black leather, I've got red leather, I've got aluminium everywhere. It's a nice place to be. Then you put your foot on the brake and press the start button. And that's where you think, ah yes, this is slightly different, this one. The engine is a 2.2 litre turbo diesel, and it's got 197 brake horsepower. Now the V6 petrol, that's got 365 brake horsepower, so there is quite a bit of a difference there. But that has 377 foot-pounds of torque, whereas this car has 440 pounds-feet of torque. That is a lot of torque. 0 to 62 miles an hour takes 7.3 seconds, and the top speed is 143 miles an hour. It doesn't always feel that fast. I mean, that's not slow really, but the in-gear acceleration, you know, when you're just driving along 50-60 miles an hour and you want to overtake something or get past something, that torque is so useful. It's also smooth, it's quiet, and because it's paired up with an 8-speed automatic gearbox, the same 8-speed also that's in every other Stinger, you'll get around 48 miles to the gallon. That's the claimed combined figure. And I haven't been driving for economy when I've had this car, to be honest. I've been busy and I've wanted to get places, so I haven't been, you know, lifting off and coasting everywhere and driving without aircon. It's been 30 degrees, I wouldn't drive without aircon. But it's still got 40-something mpg everywhere I've been. And speaking of that gearbox, it's also quite smooth and quite fast. The only time it really lets you down is when you want to change down with the paddles. If you're braking and changing down, it's just a little bit jerky sometimes. But apart from that, it's very good. The brakes are okay, but they are definitely lacking a little bit of performance compared to the V6, but that's because they are smaller. They've got less stopping power. But I think a bigger issue is the fact that this is quite a heavy car anyway. It weighs 1,800 kilos, and that's the same for whatever Stinger you go for. And you can feel that when you're on the brakes, and you can feel that when you chuck it into a corner. There's a bit of roll when you turn into a corner, but I think that's quite a good thing really. Kia could have gone the wrong way and made this car too stiff, both for the GTS, the petrol 4-cylinder, and this, the diesel. And it's definitely stiffer than something like an Optima, but it's not too stiff. It's still very comfortable. You can do long journeys in this and not get beaten up. The steering has a nice weight to it, but it is a little numb, but that's much the same in the petrol Stingers as well. They're not particularly communicative. But what you can do, like you can in the other Stingers, is you can adjust the weight of the steering with a little drive mode switch down here on the center console, which changes the weight of the steering, the throttle response, the engine and gearbox response, and it also pumps synthesized engine noise into the cabin if you put it in Sport or Sport Plus. And if you put it in Sport Plus, it also backs off the traction control. It will still save you, it will still stop a slide, but it allows you to have a little bit more slip with the rear wheels and just feel a little bit of movement. One thing I've discovered today that I didn't realise you could do is that if you put it in Sport Plus, it turns off the traction control slightly, but then if you hold down the traction control button and turn everything off completely, you then get launch control. You put your left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, build up the revs a little bit, and it's quite quiet, but then you release the throttle and it rockets you forward as fast as this will go. And this is the diesel Stinger. It's got launch control in a diesel. Now, why would you buy this over, let's say, an Optima? You know, Kia have already got a diesel saloon. Well, firstly, look at it. It's hard to ignore the looks. It's such a good looking car. Kia have done a very, very good job. Secondly, though, and perhaps crucially, it's rear wheel drive. No, I'm not suggesting people are going to be drifting this all over the place. I don't think many owners will, but you can feel the fact that it's rear wheel drive. The petrol Stingers are great, but I think this is too. The only trouble is, I suppose, they're all quite closely grouped together in terms of price. So would you have this, a GT Line S, or would you spend another £4,000 or so and get the 3.5 litre V6? Regardless though, the diesel hasn't made the Stinger worse. The Stinger has made diesel a little bit more interesting. What do you think of the new Stinger diesel? Would you buy a diesel Stinger, or would you go for the V6 or the 4-cylinder petrol? Let me know in the comments below.